London, Paris and New York all have something in common. Unlike Melbourne, they haven't won the award for the world's most livable city 3 years in a row. When other countries think of Australia, what city are they most likely to think of? Probably Sydney. That's why it makes this victory that little bit sweeter. Hi, my name's Georgia and welcome to another episode of Real, a program that sheds light on Melbourne from the perspective of young Melburnians. We want to explore and expose how our wonderful city defines the meaning of adversity and diversity.
I think in terms of Australia, it's probably one of the better ones, one of the better cities.
It's distinguished by intelligent town planning and straight streets.
So I'll say what I do like as a photographer. From my point of view, it's a beautiful city. I love the way they interact with the water and the city and the landscape, and also they can get beaches like this. It's not exactly the nicest of beaches, but it's a beautiful sunset, a nice place to actually watch it.
We've got lots of very diverse sort of tastes.
We get to see a lot of people from different cultures come and shop in the one place and actually ask for different varieties of produce.
I guess Melbourne for me is mostly about the arts.
No, just the multicultural atmosphere as well. You know, we're all learning about each other.
Well, I moved here from Canberra and I came here because there's a lot more opportunities for studio spaces for artists. There's also a lot more scope for street art in Melbourne, which is a thing that I'm sort of interested in. Lots of murals and lots of graffiti.
I've just moved to Melbourne actually. I've been living on the coast for years and felt like a bit of a cultural black hole, and now I'm so excited about the diversity in Melbourne.
It offers great education, it offers great employment opportunities, it's got a terrific health system. I work within the health system, so the hospital here is world class.
It's really funky, I suppose, like
Yeah,
alleyways
this
like
alleyway's really cool and the shopping's
Good shopping,
really good.
bit different,
Yeah,
bit
really nice.
hipster, so
Yeah.
it's nice. Cool.
What I like about Melbourne is a sense of community. You're here, but you're not alone. All the people around you, they're part of Melbourne, and you're a part of Melbourne.
The city of Melbourne, if not Victoria as a whole, is known for its extreme diversity and layers of community. With big name companies and small underground ones living as one, and with outstanding community projects, it's no wonder Melbourne is so special. However, sometimes the big guys can overpower the smaller communities, but it's wonderful to see the underdogs rise up to fight for a cause. And this is what we'll be unravelling tonight: community versus corporation. Our great team of media, screen and sound students at La Trobe University went out to explore these ideas. We will also be joined by our guest, Rosario Berchiali, who is an expert on union behaviour and corporate accountability. She will be coming in to talk to us about social corporate responsibility later in the show, so we can grow a deeper understanding in our chosen theme. But now, here is an example of one very unique community living in Melbourne. Take a look at this group of young adults who have created their own micro-community in the heart of St Kilda.
Well, I mean, we'd been talking about it for a couple of months. The whole communal living thing was kind of a part of this youth movement. And we're all kind of interested in the socialist ideas.
We have, a one bank account and we have 7 cards that come off that account. We each have a card.
Like the shared bank account we'd heard of from other people who've done it, but we try to keep it organic as much as possible so that it represents everyone.
How long have we been here? 5 months? So yeah, it was open 5 months ago, and up until this point, we all put in the same amount of money.
I'm yet to find it hard.
Well, that is definitely something different. It's so rare to see a group of young friends in this day and age make such a drastic change to their lives. I think it shows real initiative. Now, our main highlight of tonight is the community of Tacoma. Directed by Michael Van Son, the film you are about to see follows the passionate citizens of Tacoma in their fight to stop McDonald's from entering their town. This is We're Not That Kind of Hungry.
What I'm going to say is, this is not an incitement. This is an observation. And my observation is, with this community who are proud and passionate and committed and stand strong and even come out on a day like this, and I love the rain, so I think it's a good sign. You come out because you're committed, and what I say to everyone who's looking out there, remember, this is an observation, it's not an incitement. You ain't seen nothing yet.
People come to the hills to enjoy them. They come to the hills to get a nice coffee, to sit down for 5 minutes, to see Puffing Billy, to see the national park. People, and you just don't see it from the car, and you don't see it when you don't stop through Tacoma. So it's that will be lost in the hills if we allow fast food and drive-thrus to come in here. So.
I just think it just ruined the whole, what the hills are about, you know, nice place to get away, and there's just big McDonald's where this beautiful restaurant is at the moment. It just ruined the whole value of the hills, really.
I feel that it doesn't really fit into the area for a few reasons. One, it's right opposite a primary school, which is, I don't think, really fair.
Okay, so there's just a bit over 2,000 people living in Tacoma. Here were the people taking this issue to council and going, guys, we don't want this.
I felt the council really supported the community here.
As VCAT is, you know, sort of a planning board, should they really be making the overall decision on something just via planning, or should they really take into this community, you know, the community objection and community vibe?
I've had one-on-one conversations with Dr. Joel Freeman. The only justification he could give me when he spoke to me was, well, the Royal Melbourne Hospital has got a McDonald's in it, and he walked off on me. He was quite okay, and he actually actively sought out McDonald's to sell this property to. And that, I think, is absolutely criminal.
I guess on a little bit more about the local stores around here, you know, Saffron, speaking to the owner here, they lost 10 jobs, 10 full-time jobs that were real.
It's been a long established business. Nikki, who's the owner, or was the owner of Saffron Cottage, beautiful woman. She'd actually sponsored, I think it was 3 or 4 cooks, chefs from India. She brought them out here. She was training them up, giving them, you know, working. She'd sponsored them, put a lot of her own money into these 4 chefs, which she then had to go, I'm so sorry, I can't keep you.
I mean, here, Hippie Haven was, you know, almost a heart and soul of music. They sold music, they have done for 20 years.
A lot of people I've spoken to have heard of Hippie Haven, or they've actually been when they've come to be one of the tourists and you know, and visited the Dandenong Ranges.
Someone put up the idea of making a garden next to where the buildings that were going to be demolished. And I just kept looking at this, and you know, you look at your Facebook attendees and go, oh, really, you know, 30 people, that's a good turnout, something like that. There was 500 people saying yes to this, and I'm like, oh, better, you know, trundle along and see how it goes.
I went up and I planted some plants and my cousins, and like there was so many people there. It's so good to see everyone getting involved, and it was just such a wonderful like sense of community.
So I got the wheelbarrow, got the spade, turned up down here with the wheelbarrow full of mulch, and it was just amazing. Just families, people, just with plants. There was a big mulch pile here, there was soil here.
And I also did the protest. We walked along the road and held up the signs and listened to all the music. It was a great day.
That march that we had back then was enormous. Lots and lots of work went into this.
3,000 people. The last time a gathering of 3,000 people came in the hills was when Princess Diana and Charles came across for the royal visit.
Welcome back to Real. Before the break, we were watching a short documentary about the citizens of Tacoma and their fight against McDonald's. Let's continue watching this captivating story, and after we'll be joined by our expert guest, Rosario Berchiali, to talk about the film and her opinion on social corporate responsibility.
Most recently, I probably got involved again with the Puffing Billy race, where I was running in it, and I just, once again, it was that sort of opening. I said, hey, I'm going to dress as a gnome and run in the Puffing Billy race. Does anyone think this is a good idea for, you know, getting a bit of media coverage and stuff? I mean, that's almost the picture of the Dandenong Ranges, Puffing Billy going across the bridge, and imagine some archers actually being in the background there. Not literally, but it's just a nasty thought, really.
Another example of somebody just coming out of the community thinking, if we did a protest down at Boronia, which is run by the same franchisee who's going to run this one, we can just do this protest there and get the message out that we do not want a McDonald's up in the hills.
We got talking to one of the guys, and he'd been running it for 35 days by then, and that takes a toll on you, I reckon.
But that was amazing, and we got to the point where people were just driving past and tooting, and it was lovely. I really enjoyed that. You give them a big wave and they toot again, so it was good fun.
The overwhelming support that I saw within that week was just amazing.
Well, it's just such an amazing place to live because the landscape as well, like all the hills and trees, and you can go for walks and bike rides, and it's just like all the little festivals and markets that everyone loves to go to. It's such a sense of community. It's such a special place to live. I'll always come back.
You drive down any of the suburban streets, you'll see signs up for musicians, for singing lessons, for bands, and it's just such a vibrant community.
Quaint little houses and quaint and cute little businesses and arts and crafts and such a diverse area. It is very much an alternative area, and it always has been, and I believe it always will be.
When you get your agitators sort of saying, oh, you're just a bunch of hippies, or, you know, this or that, what you finally realise is that this area has been Melbourne's retreat for the last 150 years. People came up to the hills for, you know, a bit of solitude, a bit of spiritual recouping, you know.
Not just for me, but I think for most Melbourneites, the Dandenongs represent a bit of magic, a bit of what's not offered out in the local suburbs.
What they want to do is get into the hills, and then once they're in the hills, a precedent is set, and then they can just go wherever they want to. They can go Monbulk, Emerald, and just turn it into another suburb. And we're not another suburb, we're a little hills township.
It may not be heritage listed, but it's got a pretty bloody dear place in a lot of our hearts up here. So look, I mean, this has been up on Facebook, and people have talked about this, that there will be people locking themselves onto the building. That's how this is going to go.
Seems like money and power always wins out in the end, but hopefully things are changing.
The first thing that comes to mind is because I've got to live with myself afterwards, and if I haven't done everything I personally feel I can do, which may not be as much as that person or that person, I've still got to think, yes, I did as much as I could do to stop this atrocity happening in Tacoma.
We will be watching them every step of the way. They don't realise that how watched a sight this is.
Wow, how inspiring. That pretty much showed us how a group of strangers can come together for a common belief, and how not everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and go with the trend. Now, before we introduce our expert guest to talk about the film in more depth, we wanted to share some news from the town of Tacoma. This documentary was made early 2013. Since the completion of the documentary, there have been many developments, some of which are: representatives from the Tacoma community have delivered a petition with over 97,000 signatures to McDonald's headquarters in Chicago, USA. Protesters met with two of McDonald's vice presidents who have accepted the petition but confirmed that they will still be continuing with the Tacoma McDonald's. I don't know about you, but regardless of their fight being successful or not, it's moving to see the passion and unity of a small community fighting the big guys for a common cause. Now, I'm happy to welcome Rosario Bukele to talk about her expert opinion in regards to community versus corporation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So I hear you have friends in the Tacoma community and
Yes.
they were involved in the protesting.
Yes.
Now, how has what they've told you compared to what we've seen today? We're not that kind of hungry and probably what you've seen in the media.
Well, I think the documentary that we saw does represent what's going on very well. It is a very active community and they've really rallied together in this fight. But I also think that the media have been fairly sympathetic to this particular struggle. I think everyone likes the idea of a David and Goliath kind of story. You know, it is the little guys against the big corporation. But it's not just that. I mean, I think there's quite a lot of negative sentiment towards McDonald's because of the whole fast food, the issues that fast food raises, issues to do with individual health, community health, and then of course, environmental issues that are raised in the context of growing beef, which is, the staple that McDonald's brand relies on.
Well, with McDonald's being a large worldwide company, do you think McDonald's should give back, companies like McDonald's should give back to the communities that they profit from?
Of course they should give back, but I don't think giving back refers to, companies finding a philanthropic cause, for example, giving money to a hospital or giving money to a school, and that is enough to redress the damage that they've done. So I actually think that when companies are demonstrating that they're socially responsible, they actually try to address the harm that they're doing. And I don't think there's any evidence that McDonald's is doing that. Okay, they make a lot of profit and then they use some of that profit to do some good works somewhere, but they're not actually addressing, number one, the community health issues, and they're not addressing the environmental issues that come out of the raising of beef.
Well, we can definitely talk about this all day, but thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Now, let's turn to an alternative community project you too can get involved with at your local cafe. It's a not-for-profit organisation which has its own method of helping the community. Enjoy this glimpse into a simple yet effective public mission.
I manage the Mission Cafe in Paran on Chapel Street. We are a not-for-profit social enterprise business with all our profits going back into the mission. It's really nice to see people come in and able to sit down in a cafe where they normally wouldn't be able to and just sit and enjoy a coffee with everyone else and just feel like a regular member of society rather than being excluded. Customers can pay for an extra coffee. It's then sitting there suspended, so anyone who can't afford a coffee can come back in and retrieve one that's been paid for by somebody else.
There's just on 100 cafes now on board, probably 3,000 to 4,000 suspended coffees out there right now. You'll donate a coffee, it'll go to someone who needs it. Hopefully at one point when that needy person can afford it, they'll buy a suspended coffee, pass it on to the next person. You'll know if you make a donation here in Paran at the Mission Cafe that it stays within the Paran area.
Such an innovative yet simple idea, which really shows it doesn't take much to pay it forward. Now we'll be back with some more very real stuff after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Ever wanted to know what your local pub did for your community other than cook up a good parma or steak? A pub in Kew takes pride in giving back to the community. No, it doesn't give free shots all round or host the best happy hour. In fact, this pub prides itself on giving back to the community by sponsoring many local sporting teams. Check this out.
I'm here at the Harper Van Hotel Kew.
a privately owned pub that is doing its part to give back to the local community.
We sponsor up to about 22 cricket clubs and 13 footy clubs and a hockey club and a basketball club.
Through sponsorship programs like these, local footy clubs are able to be funded to continue playing the sport they're so passionate about.
They get upfront payments and some of the local ones like Doncaster, Balwyn and Kew. And then there's various cricket clubs around. The cricket clubs are at a lower sponsorship, but there's more of them.
The Harper Veron Hotel is not only giving back to its local community, but it's also assisting staff who want to further their hospitality training.
Once they have their accreditation, like in something like the TAB, then they have that for life and they can actually work in an agency as well as a pub tab. And I see it as an investment into the staff and their future.
Looking after the community and giving a helping hand is what makes the Harper Veron a very successful pub.
Isn't that great to see though? Wouldn't it be awesome if all local pubs were as community minded? Now, would you prefer quality over price or the other way around? Do you feel the need to support smaller businesses or is that not such an issue? These are just some questions that were sparked when we went out and spoke to a local butcher who is situated right next to a large corporate supermarket. Let's have a look.
First and foremost, it certainly attracts customers to the area. Having a big name like Coles here, people come to Coles, and as a consequence of that, they walk past my shop, and that maybe gives them the opportunity to compare myself with them. We're specialists in what we do. We only sell meat. We don't buy our meat in a cardboard box and in a plastic bag like the major retailers do. We bone out our beef, we slice meat and cut meat to the customer's specifications. Some customers are more loyal than others, of course. And some customers are loyal to their own family budgets, which is perfectly understandable. Other customers are loyal to their families in other ways, whereas they would be more likely to buy for quality and for service.
Wow, makes you question your own shopping habits, doesn't it? Maybe next time you will consider where you buy your groceries. There is so much to investigate when it comes to the battle of community versus corporation, but that's all we have for you tonight. We hope we have broadened your horizons by showing you another side of Melbourne. You just never know what you can learn about this place, and all the hidden treasures never cease to amaze me. Good on you, Melbourne and the rest of Victoria. Make sure you join us next week for another eye-opening episode of Real with another even more lovely host. Until next time, keep it real.